Brad and Julie Duncan. Here's what they shared with me that evening that I want to pass on to you. They shared with me that how we view things is how we do things. An evening with Brad and Julie was an evening about perspective. Here's what I know. What we believe about life determines how we perceive life, which determines what we receive from life. The old comedian, you're too young to know about this, but Flip Wilson was a great comedian, and he used to, that evening in our dinner conversation, they basically gave me 4 what I would call points about perspective. I pass them on to you. Number 1, hold the perspective of others in a proper perspective. Julie started the evening off with me, and she said to me, she said, John, I had a wonderful father. And she said, when I was young, and when I say she was young, I think if I remember right, she was maybe 10, 12 years old, quite young. She said, my father said this to me, don't care so much about what other people think that it keeps you from living your best life. And when she said that, my heart resonated to Julie, and I thought, I love this. I love that her father would say, don't let other people and what they think about you somehow control your behavior until it keeps you from the best life that you truly could have. And it reminded me of this statement, the most important voice that you listen to is your own. That's why I tell people all the time when they do self-talk, be careful what you say to yourself. This is the most important voice that you're going to hear. Let me give you some questions to ask about people's perspective of you. Questions I ask about people's perspective of me. In other words, when Julie's father said, don't let the perspective of others limit your own life, I've got a list of questions that I wrote down, kind of inspired by Julie. Here are the questions. When people have a perspective of me, I ask myself these questions. First, do they care about me? If they don't care about me, to be honest with you, why would their perspective matter? Number 2, do they want the best for me? Number 3, do they understand me? A lot of people, they just don't understand you. A misunderstanding leads to a wrong perspective. Number 4, do they want to control me? Number 5, will they help me? I mean, are they going to give me more than perspective? Or are they going to give me a hand? Another question I ask myself is, are they immature? Immature people always have a selfish perspective. So we have this conversation, Brad, Julie, and myself, my team, and it keeps going. And then another perspective popped up that they shared, and that is, keep a realistic perspective as you become successful. They kept talking about the fact, don't let success go to your head. Master of Divinity said the first responsibility of a leader is to define reality. And the challenge with success, to be honest with you, is it's a separator. And the challenge with separation is when you get separated from people, you lose the common touch, and so much of the time you lose the realistic touch. The third thing that happened in that dinner conversation about perspective is that this came up also in the conversation, and as focus on the big picture when the small stuff distracts you. Again, Brad and Julie were talking. They were talking about how that it's easy to get distracted by things that really don't matter. And I put this quote, as I was listening to him at the table, I put it on my iPhone, and I'm passing it on to you right now, because it really comes from them. Every day may not be good, but there is good in every day. You've heard me talk about what you focus on expands. And in our days, we have good days, we have bad days. I've already shared with you in a previous Monday with Maxwell that I expect to see problems. I expect to have problems. Well, what am I going to focus on? Harper Lee said, people generally see what they look for. Brad brought this up. Man, I tell you, when he brought it up, I thought, how good is this? I pass it on to you. Live with a values perspective. Brad Brad got very teary when he began to talk about his father. His father's passed away. I knew his dad. His dad was very successful. His dad was a great, great man. Brad has a lot of me in him, and the fact that I won the parent lottery. He won the parent lottery. His parents are amazing. And so Brad, when we're talking about perspective, he said, let me tell you something my dad taught me. He said, my dad taught me treat people right. Brad, do the right thing for people. Treat people right. And Brad's dad was a very successful business person, but more important, he was a very successful person. And so I pressed him. I said, well, when your dad said, treat people right, what did he mean? And then he gave this expression, and I'm reading this because I don't want to miss it because it was so good. He said, my dad taught me, don't do what is best, do what is right. Wow. So my dad said, treat people right. Not just treat people best. Treat people right. So I pulled it out. Come on, Brad. Teach me some more. Give me some more. And Julie's jumping in there, kind of helping. And he said to me, best is subjective. In other words, he said, what maybe is best for me, maybe isn't best for you at all. So he said, I don't always try to do what is best because that could be very personal, could be very subjective. But he said, right aligns with good values. He said, if you align your behavior with good values, then everybody wins in it. And I thought, wow, I love this distinction. Don't try to do the best. Just try to do what's right.